Hey, real quick, I forgot to mention it during the intro, but we do have a Discord if you want to talk to us about some topic ideas that you guys have, want to get some duels in. Just feel free to click the link. But with that being said, let's get into the podcast. What's going on, guys? Bingo here. I'm with the Duel Factory for another episode of X2 Drop. So it is the end of June in the Yu-Gi-Oh era. We just got the news for a new ban list, and it turns out Engage is enough to get me to get back into the game.
I'm so excited.
So it was like a perfect storm, right? So Engage came back. The really good locals that I found just opened up about 2 weeks ago, and I was planning to check it out anyway. So I'm super excited to be back in the game. I actually went to locals this past weekend, believe it or not. But we'll get into that. So a lot going on in Yu-Gi-Oh right now. I still have a lot of complaints with the game, but I'm sure we'll get into that. Today's topic's pretty broad since it's been a few weeks since we sat down and talked. I just wanted to leave it open so that we could have a good discussion, especially with the ban list and the products coming out, and just kind of see how we feel about the ending format. Do we like where the format's going, and the game overall? So, Joe, you never stopped playing. Just a quick summary, like the past, was it 2 months or 3 months we've had this list? How do you feel like that format was?
So initially, I think it started off well, but then it just kind of like diverged into like everyone was literally just playing the one deck, which was Dragon Link, and it gets pretty stale pretty fast when we do that, right?
Yeah, definitely.
But it went from like it felt like a wide open format at first, and then like trap cards just became bad instantly again. Dragon Link was just reigning supreme, and then there were some decks coming out in here like towards the tail end of the format when Lightning Overdrive came out. We got one of the one deck that kind of popped out and started seeing popularity, and I saw it on Dueling Book first, and then I've recently seen take some places was the Adignister deck because it got the Link 1, I think it's like called Dark Infant, and it was a really really cool deck that people have been playing. That started making some headway, but it had a really bad like Tri Brigade matchup, so it didn't take like a lot of spots. But now, as the format's wrapping up and we're about to start a new one, I don't know if going forward, if the deck's still going to see as much play as it has been seeing. But as of right now, it was nice. Like, what's the word? What's the phrase I'm looking for? It was refreshing to see another competitive deck that could actually stand up to the format.
Yeah. Outside looking in, it seemed like the format did become pretty stale. Like the list before this one, I don't even remember what it was, but Dragon Link was the deck before that, and it was the deck after that, and it just, when you see formats like that where like a combo deck is kind of reigning supreme, it gets really hard to stay excited about the game personally. So
it would have been different if it was like a triangle format, but it wasn't even like a triangle format, right?
Yeah.
And then we got closer to a 2-deck format, but like Tri Brigade honestly just couldn't compete. And then people were playing Drytron, and then they were figuring out how to stop it. And like it is what it is.
Yeah. So finally, after I don't know how many lists everyone's been begging for it, LP took the axe, and there was quite a few other hits, but everybody listening to this, I'm sure, knows what the ban list was. So we'll give our thoughts on what's coming up in the format, as well as what we're going to play and what we're looking forward to. One of the things I'm super looking forward to is hopefully getting announcements for in-person events, or hopefully around October. That's my guess, is when the policy is going to change, but that's just a blind random guess. So, Joe, thoughts on the ban list? Because personally, I think it did pretty well. I didn't have to suffer through anything, so I just don't like Dino being at 3 misc. Engage makes me very happy. LP makes me very happy. So overall, what do you think?
So my thoughts, like the ban list did a lot of things well, but it also did a lot of things very unwell. Obviously, everyone's rejoicing that LP's gone, and then as an added bonus on top of it, Striker Dragon went from 3 to 1 copy.
Yeah, that was nice.
that might have been a little bit overkill for the deck, but whatever, right? It is what it is. Now, from new format testing, seeing it, there is a version of it that's playing like Dragoonity cards and like to facilitate like all the cards that we're missing, and that deck's really cool. But that deck at best has been toned down to a tier 2 deck, which as the format evolves, maybe that changes, but whatever, right? I think everyone's like, as a community, probably favorite lists or favorite change other than LP getting banned is Miscellaneous Source going down to 1.
Yeah.
So I personally think it's fantastic because I get sick and tired of the Dino deck anyway.
Yeah, just real thoughts on Dinos. That deck is never it's not like overpowering or frustrating. It's just like you sit down against it, and my immediate reaction is just like that. I just can't stand going up against it. You know, it's not that it was super broken. I'm just happy to see it getting reeled back and like there actually being counterplay involved, and you can stop them much easier.
See, my least favorite thing about the deck is like dealing with OV Miss is probably one of the most frustrating things in the game that we've had in a very long time.
Yeah.
And the fact that you have so many ways to get to those 2 cards turn 1 is frustrating. Now, whenever I played Dino, I swear I bricked more than anyone else, so that's why like the deck turned me away. But it was one of those decks that like it was necessary because it was like one of the few decks that stood up to dragons and had a really, really good dragon matchup, right? So that's why like we couldn't like phase it out. But now misses at 1, and don't get me wrong, your opponent's still going to have like great access to OV Miss.
Yeah,
the
definitely.
problem is you have to make the Miscellaneous Source count now because you only have 1. So if it gets like ashed on the to summon Anodort Archosaur, then basically the Dino deck runs out of gas very, very fast.
Yes.
But if it does resolve, it's generally going to be game, and now it's going to be like, so when you play again, because you know there's still going to be Dino players, like when they see the 1 of Misk and it resolves, you're just going to feel super salty because you're going to feel like you got sacked. So, I mean, that's just what it is. With that being said, the scariest part of this guy... Okay, no, actually, no, let's rephrase. Not the scariest part. The part that pisses me off the most is you guys fucking got 1 Engage and I got 0 Colossus.
Yeah, so I don't really know what the logic behind getting an Engages. I'm happy about it. It might become a problem. We have 3 Kagari, 3 Anchor, 1 Roll. Like the deck is it's going to be very, very good. It's not missing very much, and 1 Engage is just that extra little bit of consistency that you need that can snowball into advantage if it's not dealt with properly. So I'm happy, but I could see the frustration from the community, especially when you have cards like Electromite and Colossus and a Harp that were kind of the same era, right? That have just been imprisoned and they're not coming back. Like Engage was a multiple format defining card, not only just in Sky Striker, but you had Orcus Sky Striker, Trickstar Sky Striker that formed from Engage. And drones, obviously. Yeah, it's really surprising to see it back, but we all know Konami loves this deck for some reason.
For no reason.
Yeah, it's not like it was a TCG exclusive. It's not like it was Burning Abyss. They just like it.
Yeah. So okay, I'm going to be the first to admit it here. When I first saw the list and I saw Engage come off the 1, I was definitely one of the players that was in denial. I'm like, there's no way this card came back to 1, and there's no way this deck's going to be good with just 1 Engage. But,
it is.
As you know, I never stop playing, and all I do, like, on my off time is I just watch Yu-Gi-Oh! Twitch streamers, I mean, like, theorying and, like, all this fun stuff, right? Watching the deck actually in, like, action against, like, actual new format testing and decks and stuff like that, 1 Engage literally made the difference of a deck going from a rogue contender to a actual tier 1 deck, and it disgusts me that I have to say that. But like it just gets you there. Like the 1 Engage literally gives your deck everything it needed to actually start playing again, because now you rotate cards like so let's talk about what it actually like rotates back into the like metagame, right? Which is more accessibility to cards like Shark Cannon, which are insane against the Drytron deck, which was untouched, by the way. That's the other deck I think is really good. Your deck now has added consistency because you were talking about it earlier, where you can go get cards like Hercules base.
Yeah, I
or
mean, it's an extra copy of anything you need at the time, and you can get it back because it's like anyone who plays Sky Striker with 3 Ray, 2 Rose, and 2/3 area 0. No, like if you don't see your engine, you can't play, and it's another copy of every single part of your engine that you can add back with any part of your engine, like.
And then, like, the thing, like, it also, like, in for the Sky Striker deck, like, Hayate was already a problem anyway, because it was, like, a pseudo way to get to any of your cards, right?
Yeah.
Now, cards like that get infinitely more mileage, and you have, not only do you have 1 copy of Engage, but you have access to a lot more stuff than what you had previously before any of these cards came out, right? Like, I don't know if we did, but I'm pretty sure we did. Did we have access to extra deck monsters like Access Code Talker before Engage got banned? I can't remember if we did.
I know I picked up Access Code, but I think it was post-lit. It was either really close because Access Code came out in April of 2020, I believe, and it was around that time.
I gotcha. You also have access to like other tutors and stuff like that. 'Cause, like, I'm sure people are going to experiment with cards like Pot of Prosperity and stuff like that. But so that's besides the point. You have access to an infinitely vast pool of cards that we didn't have access to beforehand before Engage left the format. And it's perfectly positioned because there are so many decks that are graveyard reliant now, such as like the Tri-Brigade deck, which, yes, we lost Dryden, which that's another thing we should talk about, but they lost Dryden, but the Zoo build is actually still really good because it just produces monsters. The Drytron deck, obviously, it just plays from the graveyard. Like, past turn 1, like, you have 4 floating effects in the graveyard. Like, that's insane.
Yeah, another thing Engage does well is anyone who's played Sky Striker in the past 6 months knows it can be difficult to deal with your opponent's board and establish multi-role, and Engage can help you do that, right? Because you use your hand, deal with your opponent's board, and then you just need Engage or multi-role to stick for 1 turn realistically, like resolve it your end phase, and then hopefully resolve it your opponent's end phase, and at that point you should have so much advantage that it's hard to lose that game, and Engage really helps do that. Because this past Saturday I was playing pre-list Striker. I didn't establish multi-role once because I had to deal with the threats on board and make sure that I wasn't going to die, and Engage would have just been a free +1 every single turn that lets me invest into the grind game more than not dying.
Yeah, and then you now have that going forward, so that's going to be crazy. But we can look at the opposite end of the spectrum now, right? Whereas a deck like Sky Striker got Engage back, and now let's piggyback to the Salamangreat deck that got Mirage Stalio. But it's not the same power level or like boost that like the deck needed, right?
No, Stalio's good. Don't get us wrong. It just doesn't do the same thing as...
No, not even close. Like, don't get me wrong, I play Salamangreat, or I was there for a little bit. I just started... Before we even started this, I was just playing with Doug for a little bit. Like, the Stalio was cool because, like, it gives me, like, a better turn 1 play. But the problem with it is like, past turn 1, if I'm making it, means I'm not making cards like Access Code Talker, and, like, I'm not killing my opponent, and that's, like, why I think the power difference is so, like... And it's crazy, because both these cards were banned at the same time, and, like, you would think the power level's there, but it's just, like, not. So, like, it's just crazy.
Well, like you said, Stalio locks you into fire monster effects, so all of these new tools that you were just talking about that SS has to play with now, that, like... I don't even know how long we had Zeke or Rose legal, but we have those, and then we have Access Code. We have the Hulk combo, Celine combo, if you want to deal with that. Personally, I don't think it's right, but you have all these things, and Engage doesn't shut you off from those. Salad is a really good deck. It's consistent, but missing Stalio was not the problem it had. It needs... I don't even know. I don't even know what it needs. I just don't know if it has the power anymore to match.
the big selling point of Salad is the fact that it was so consistent, right? And a lot of people say it, and I am in tendence to agree with them. But that deck is actually better than it's ever been because now you have access to all the like the utility cards and stuff like that. Because I guess you would consider the nice thing is like it also like affects deck building. So like I think because of the cards back, and I've noticed it with my list too. I'm playing 3 copies of Foxy and 3 copies of Spinny right now just to make my turn one like more consistent, so I can actually have access to it. So I have more essentially more open access to cards like Jack Jaguar the entire game, but like that doesn't really do anything for me against like all these powerful decks that we're going up against. But again, we have like Splash Mage, Access Code Talker, Hida because of Sky Strike. Another card that Engage is going to influence is cards like Hida getting rotated back into the format because every deck is playing Ash Blossom more or less as a hand trap. And then since we're going to see a more prevalent return of like Kagaris and stuff like that, you have a fire monster and stuff like that. So it changes deck building and stuff like that too.
Yeah. I don't think Salad's going to break above the rogue deck status. Like it's going to be a consideration as it's going around. You know, you got people that love the deck like Bless, and they're going to play it, and some of them are probably going to top some events with it. But I just don't think overall, I don't think it can stand up too well to the decks going around. Like Salad VSS, you know, that's whatever. Those decks are kind of similar. I think that matchup is, I don't know, 50-50, depends on the draw. But against Drytron, Tri-Brigade, I just don't think it can stand up.
Oh, no, not at all. But another one that we could talk about too, and I'm sure you have thoughts on this one, but I'm actually really, really upset that Dryden got banned.
Yeah, I got words. I'll let you say your piece before I jump in.
I can understand because in one copy of Dryden, I don't want to say it's the same power level as a card like Engage. Now I could be wrong with that, but I just don't think it is. But Dryden lets you do a lot of things that you're just not supposed to be able to do in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! For example, having access to that Dryden gave you so many additional extenders and combos you can do in a card like Tri-Brigade Zoo, made your openings more consistent. It also technically, like, this isn't like a broken play, but it gave you, if you're playing the Zoo deck and you have access to Dryden, it gives you more frequent access to cards like Megaclops, which, because of the change in the format, could have made a more like prevalent appearance in the format because there's not a lot of outs to that card for so many decks, right? But now that card's gone, and then we have the Utopic Future Dragon or something like coming out. They're not gonna. That card's going to be insane, but it's not going to be as insane because access to Dryden's now gone. So I can kind of see that, but like, I don't know. I really like that card being in the format because I really liked playing like pure, like any Zoo variant right now. I thought it was really cool to see that deck like actually be like in the format, and like it wasn't overbearing. Don't get me wrong, and I hate to say this, it was probably the best Mystic Mine deck because you would just mine your opponent, then Zeus them, and they couldn't do anything about it. Yeah. But like, with it gone, it also takes away from like other rogue strategies that could have made use of the Dryden because of these new cards coming out, and we're just not going to see that now. So I think it limits the number of decks you can play in a format, and that's how I feel about Dryden going, and it makes me really upset.
Yeah, so I missed the entirety of Dryden being legal. I just couldn't go in person, which is unfortunate because that's my favorite deck of all time is Zoo. And I didn't feel like Dryden was a problem. You know, it felt like Dryden's a good card. It adds a different depth to certain decks like you were talking about. But I guess they're trying to future-proof some product coming out down the road, which is fine. But if you want to lower the power level of Tri-Brigade Zoo or just Zoo in general, like Dryden's your turn one play and it adds a couple extenders. You only have one. I felt like there's better ways to do it, but my biggest complaint about it being banned again is who the fuck knows when that card's coming back. Like when,
yeah,
yeah,
for like a
once it's banned, once it's legal once and it's banned, that card could be on that list for the next couple of years. And that's my biggest frustration with it. I don't think it did anything currently to warrant going back onto the list. And now I just don't know when we're going to get it back.
Maybe we'll get lucky and they'll bring it back later, but like,
yeah, it's hard to say. You can't cry over spilled milk, but I really wish it didn't go, and I'll leave it at that. What else do we have? Fucking Double Iris goes to 2 for like whatever.
So one thing I think that like is hilarious with this list, right? So we've talked about what the list addressed, right?
Yeah.
What we haven't talked about is stuff that it didn't address. So, for example, notice my man Alistair and anything involving the Shaddoll deck did not get touched, right? So, one, people are complaining about Alistair anyway, but I don't think anything like needs to happen to that card, but that's just my opinion personally. However, you still have every copy of Doll Fusion. There's every copy of Super Poly, which honestly has like been insane since it's been brought back. I'm just going to be 100% honest with you. The card is crazy. You also have nothing happened to the Dogmatica engine, which because of the change in the format, and I've been bitching about this in the Discord if you guys are part of it, but like because of all the changes in the format and why I think it didn't get touched is the fact that all these cards coming back literally I think makes the deck unplayable because there's no way Alistair's ever going to resolve ever again, right?
Yeah.
Like that's just not happening. Yes, your Shaddoll fusions are going to resolve for free, but they're going to have to deal with Widow Anchors,
Shark Cannons,
Tri Brigade Revolts, Herald of Ultimateness. Like it's going to have to deal with all that, right?
Yeah.
Now that being said, the power level of the cards is so insane that I still because of what I've seen in like actual matches, I can't believe that they just didn't touch Shaddoll Fusion at all. Which I'm a huge Shaddoll advocate, so I'm happy that nothing's happening to it. But like, that's crazy to me. I thought for sure my man, educated man's Dante, something would happen to him, but nothing happened.
Yeah. So Shaddoll Invoked has been a good deck ever since the new Shaddoll support, right? It just comes in and out of formats, and it gets new tools like the Dogmatic Engine. It got Super Poly back to 3. And I think the biggest problem with this deck is it frustrates people, not that it's overpowering. Like, it doesn't feel good to go against it sometimes. Like, personally, I have no problems with the deck. You can make an argument that, like, Meltdown with the Shaddoll cards is, like a frustrating interaction, Super Poly as a whole. But, like, I think that deck specifically is... its power level is pretty dependent on the state of the game. So it's going to be stronger and then it's going to be weaker. Just like March of 2020, it was super strong. And then as the new cards came out and the format progressed, it just phased off without taking any hits. And that's my stance on it. I'm pretty happy it didn't get hit because I love the Invoked engine. If you tell me it's a problem, I'm just like, my mind is blown. But I can see where arguments can be made.
Yeah, to me the craziest part is nothing happened to the Dogmatica engine, which is crazy. But like I get it, and I have like infinite love for cards like Natty or Servant. So like again, I'm happy that nothing happened to it. But I can't believe it didn't get touched at all, because that engine goes in and out of formats. But that's whatever. The another deck that did get touched, but it kind of just phased itself out. And I'm no fan of the deck because I think it's awful anyway. But the Eldritch deck, they didn't touch anything in that engine either.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting to see where the Eldritch engine is going to go, because I feel like Eldritch always has to be paired with something. And on it, I don't know the Eldritch SS matchup. I don't know Eldritch Drytron. I don't know if it's going to be positioned better or worse than it was last time, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens going forward. I'm pretty excited for this format, mostly because I get to play my deck again. But
well, yeah, you're just going to have infinite love for your deck. I already knew that. The problem is, it's like you said, it has to be paired with something, but I don't think Eldritch cards have been positioned well for a while, so that's probably why it never got touched. But like Konami, like always touches stuff when it's not doing anything anyway, so that just threw me off.
Yeah, and just so everyone knows, I didn't solely come back because I saw Engage come back.
He's lying to you, by the way.
The reason I just got more and more standoffish from the game was to get four play sets of 4 cards that I feel like I need to deck build efficiently. It would cost me $1,200. Like, that's just absurd. Like, I love the game and all that. I have no problem forking out money for cardboard, but for 4 cards that are pretty relevant overall and generic, like, that's just like, I'm good, man. But now we got the Lightning Storm reprint coming out, most likely Droplets in the Megatin. Prosperity's going to stay up there, but and then I don't know about TTT, but at least it's not going to cost as much.
Oh no, but I think that card's gonna be crazy in the upcoming format. I'm not 100% sure, but I think because everyone's gonna be playing like, I know Striker decks are gonna be playing like 12 hand traps, and if the Ignister deck, I really have high hopes for that deck because its engine's so small, it will also play like 12 hand traps. I think that card's actually gonna be crazy because that deck you can talents in at Ignister, and it can kill you in the same turn. So I think that's where it's gonna be like really, really crazy.
Yeah.
You probably won't see it in Striker because Striker can't really kill your opponent, if I'm being 100% honest.
Yeah, no, like, I've seen Talk of Talents, and, like, I don't know if it has a home in Striker, and I'm trying to be optimistic, but it just... Is it better than another card that you would rather have?
I don't know. Because, like, your deck's interesting. Like, the Striker deck, like, I can't believe I'm saying that. But, like,
it's
Striker deck plays... What's up?
Oh, I was going to say, 1, it's a spell.
Well, that too. But Striker already, plays through hand traps very, very well because a lot of hand traps are positioned awkwardly against you. For example, Ash Blossom is probably like the most awkward hand trap against Striker, so we're not even going to get into that. But talents give you extra cards. It can take control of a monster, or it can take hand traps out of your opponent's hand, right? So taking hand traps out of an opposing player when you're playing Striker doesn't seem that appealing because, again, your deck plays so well against hand traps.
Yeah.
2, cards that you would use it to take control of, like, for example, Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, which I don't think is getting rotated back into the format anytime soon. Your deck can already deal with that card fairly well already because you can make cards like Ningirsu. But it is an additional threat to take that card out of the equation, so it's something to think about there. And then the draw to, like, don't get me wrong, like, your deck does well because it basically outgrinds your opponent in card advantage, and that adds to your advantage. But because there's going to be the popularity of decks like Drytron, people will probably be main decking Droll and Lockbird, and then that's just another card that makes you susceptible to cards like that. So I don't think it's positioned well for that deck specifically, but I think as a whole in the format it'll be positioned well.
Yeah, I just feel like DD Crow might pick up in popularity, or the Grave hand traps, and like those can hurt Sky Striker still, but in order for you to get to the point where you can take that out of your opponent's hand and they can just like chain it anyway if there's a relevant target, I don't know. I don't like it, but I'll mess around with it. But I was talking about Droplets and Lightning Storm, TTT, and Prosperity. Hopefully I can pick up those soon, but I'm not paying over $1,000 for 4 cards or 12 cards.
It only hurts once.
Yeah, I know. But you got any final thoughts? We're wrapping up on time here.
I'm excited for the format. I hope it's going to be as like exciting and like as diverse as I hope it's going to be. Now, obviously, this is Yu-Gi-Oh! The trading card game, so that doesn't always work out, and we're all a bunch of degenerates, so someone's going to find something broken. But initially starting off, I think it's going to be really good. I hope decks like Ignister do not get rotated out as early as I think they're going to get rotated out, and like I'm excited to play the game. I'm really excited to play the game. And Douglas French has no sauce, so I just wanted to make sure.
You have no sauce. No. Hey.
Yeah, so I know this episode was us just kind of talking about the ban list and the state of the game, which we like to do every once in a while. But if you do want to see more in-depth talk about how we're feeling about the game or our thoughts on certain topics, feel free to check us out same time, same place next week. It should be 8 a.m. iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, and a whole bunch of other places, and 10 a.m. on YouTube for the podcast every single Monday, ideally.
Ideally.
And if you enjoy mine and Joe's banter, or you want to put your thoughts into what we talk about, there's a link to the Discord wherever you're watching this. It's in the description. Check it out. Post your ideas. Find people to duel. It's actually there's a decent amount of people in it. It's doing a lot better than I thought it was. If you want to match, feel free to jump in there. If you just want to chill, we do that too. And with that being said, I will see you guys back here next week. Peace out.
Okay, bud.